This is Sportswatch on 6 News. I'm Leonardo Puglisi, that's Lachlan Shelf, and believe it or not, that is Tin You In back on the show this week. Nice to have everyone here, and it has been a huge week, a huge 24 hours, really. We want to start off with what is one of the all-time cup sets. The Australia Cup last night, NPLWA side Olympic Kingsway facing off with Melbourne Victory. An extraordinary come from behind win there. Lachlan, you were watching live, as were I. That was something, wasn't it?
I mean, that right there is what we call the magic of the cup. You know, it was a great turnout from the Kingsway fans. A lot of eyes on the game. You know, a big traditional APL club taking on a big A-League club. It's exactly what we want to see in the tournament. Victory took the lead, 3-2 late on. You're kind of thinking, okay, we're not going to have a cup set here. Liam Boland gets one back right at the death to send the game to extra time. He then scores a penalty in the, I believe it was the 101st minute to make the game 4-3 in the first half extra time, and Kingsway going to win 4-3. You can just tell after the game what it meant to all those fans and what it just means to all the NPL fans out there in general. You know, the fans running on the pitch, the community. It's just something that, as much as we love the A-League, it's something you don't get at the A-League level. So it's so good to see a team like Kingsway get that one over Victory, and credit to them because they had an incredible performance in that last minute, that last half extra time as well to stop Victory from scoring.
Tin, even by Australia Cup Magic standards, that was something. I mean, Melbourne Victory were in the A-League men's grand final a few months ago, and they have, just you think, okay, well they've gotten unlucky in the end there, but they aren't managing to hold on in extra time. And Olympic Kingsway looked throughout that whole extra time period watching it, they seem to be stronger. But again, really something, and to be a non-A-League club in the round of 16 is always going to be huge, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, it's absolutely unprecedented. Just going through the numbers, if you have a look at it, it's only the third ever win by an NPL West Australian club, and it's the first time an NPL West Australian club has beaten an A-League side in the national rounds. And I mean, it's something that really shouldn't happen. The money is not really there in NPL West Australia, and again, against a club like Victory, who a couple of months ago were in the A-League Grand Final, and just about a year back we're in the Australia Cup Final. I mean, frankly put, this is almost an unpredictable. This is almost a win that you couldn't fathomably predict. But we're here now. It's an incredible moment, not just for Olympic Kingsway but for Australian football, and it's one that's going to go deep into the annals of the competition.
As you can see on screen there, you've got those results from some of the matchups we've had this week, a few big games, and of course we'll be covering the round of 16 closely. Look, it's been a massive few hours or few days, I should say, for second-tier football in this country in general, and all kind of kicked off about midday Saturday when we first heard reports that the Australian Championship would be axed after 2 years, and it would just be in that Champions League style tournament format. Wouldn't be a full regular season like the A-League. Would be gone after 2 years. You'd have clubs refunded. That set a lot of people off. On Sunday, we get Football Australia putting out information saying that the latest expression of interest, that kind of period has passed. They're talking about the foundation clubs being there for 5 years. That is kind of an indirect response. Then on Monday, we hear directly from Football Australia for the first time to those rumours, and they tell 6 News directly, in terms of the axing, that's not the case. Now, we know, Lachlan, that those rumours are still going to persist, and there's still a lot of questions about where the Australian Championship goes from here. But what a few 72, 96 hours it's been following this story.
Absolutely. It was definitely a bit of a shock. We all got those first reports at midday on Saturday, like you said. There was a lot of questions now. Why has this happened? Is it financial reasons? Is it a lack of interest? What's going on here? We haven't managed to clear it up. Of course, there's a few questions to be asked, a few grey lines, but I'm glad to see that Football Australia are more committed to this than we initially thought they were on the Saturday. I think now, if anything, it's going to help the Australian Championship. It's going to, look, all media attention is good sometimes. So it might get a few more eyes on it. It might get people to realise that, okay, this isn't just a permanent thing. We have to get out here and support this. So only a couple of months until it kicks off now. So I'm excited to see how it happens, and I'm hoping we get it for longer than 2 years.
Tin, I'm certainly trying to be an optimist with these kind of things. I'm really excited about the Australian Championship, and I'm very much hopeful that it is an accident. Again, Football Australia is adamant to us that it won't be. But look, there have been questions, including what kind of broadcast are we going to get for this? What kind of sponsorship, if any? And we're talking about, of course, this kicking off in October. That is all on top of the fact that the current format is not what a lot of football fans want, right? They want it to be this full season thing, which we're not at yet. You'd hope the development gets there kind of after a few years of the tournament style. But how are you feeling about its future right now? Would you be more of the optimistic side?
I mean, as a football fan in this country, it's pretty hard to be optimistic about a lot of things. But I'd argue it's 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 a unique position we're in where obviously it's something that's new, and for me, it's hard to be. And I prefer not to be negative, especially when approaching something that's hasn't even been tried yet and hasn't even started yet. So look, in the end, are the reports coming out that came out circa Saturday concerning? Yes, but again, running football in this country is extremely difficult, especially at a national level. Running any sport at a national level is extremely difficult in this country. I mean, when you consider the costs that would be factored for a lot of these teams that are right now currently semi-professional teams, it's not a surprise that the RFP that the most recent request for proposal phase passed without much success. But again, it's something that sort of has to be developed as the competition goes on, and it's something that needs to be developed in the NPLs as well. It's a sort of thing that sort of builds with the competition, and so for now, I'm not overly negative, but at the same time, not exactly gonna act like it's all sunshines and flowers and whatever.
Yeah, well, we'll cover it close in, and we'll definitely be watching how this unfolds as we approach October. Speaking of things changing, Greg Swan out today flagging that there could be changes to the AFL's final structure, potentially a final 10 instead of a final 8. Now, I don't know. I'm happy with final 8 with 18 teams. I think it makes sense. With 19 teams, I still think it makes sense. Honestly, with 20 teams, I still think it makes sense. I mean, you want it to be the best of the best for obvious reasons. That's what a final series is for. And again, some of the proposals we've heard, and there was Eddie Maguire coming out the other day. I mean, if you're just not good enough, why should you be there in September? Sheza, what did you make of this? Would you support a wild card round or another type of finals extension?
No, I'm strongly against this, to be honest, Leo. Look, there's a lot of different ways this could go. For example, you look at it's a very American thing now to have the play-ins. They have the NBA. I believe the NFL expanded their playoffs as well. It's a very American thing to have maybe 7 play 10 and 8 play 9 to see who gets that final spot. I don't want that. I don't see why we need that. I think it's just more added drama. I don't think that's really necessary for our competition. As you said, it's going to be obviously we're hoping the Tassie Devils can get their stadium together and become the 19th team. We still don't really have reports on 20th team. I'm not sure how that's coming along, but look, once we get to 20 teams, I'm still not really sure if we want half the teams in the final. So, because let's be honest, once the 20 teams come in, there's going to be a lot more games. There's obviously going to be more games. There's going to be more fixture congestion. It's probably going to be a longer season. We don't want this to stretch out for so long that by the end of it, the players are tired. They can't go on. So I don't see why we need 10 teams in the finals, even with 20 teams. Okay, if you're good enough to make the top 8, like it's always been, then congratulations, go play. If you're not 10th, unlucky. I don't want you in the finals, to be honest.
10, 8's always felt like the right number to me, whether we've had 16 or 18 teams in the comp or 20 for that matter. It just makes sense. You've got the current structure. It's well understood by football fans. It logically makes sense. I can't really think of an example of a bad final series, maybe outside of COVID years. It always seems to be entertaining one way or another. Why would you want to change it?
Question I'm asking myself. I mean, 8 feels like the right number for me with the current state of the competition. I mean, as far as I mean, like Lachlan said, I mean, finals has to sort of be this exclusive thing, and when you allow too much of the league to sort of compete for a final spot, I think it sort of loses its sort of prestige in a way. And for me, 8 sort of hits a sweet spot of the number between the current number of clubs we have now, 18, where it's not exactly half the competition, it's a little less than half the competition. So you're getting pretty much the cream of the crop right into the top end of the competition. And so look, I look. Should the AFL try new things? Absolutely. I mean, people should be open to these things, but in the end, there's some changes where I think the AFL just sort of has to go back and think. Well, this has been the way it's been for years now, and there's never been any issues. And as far as I'm concerned, no one's ever thought, let's put more teams in finals. So frankly, it's a rather confusing decision for me that I can't quite understand.
I'll note the VFL does it. Mind you, that's a 21 team comp. And mind you, my own interests would say that I'm fine if there's the opportunity for two extra spots there, but that's a different competition. Look, if the AFL wants to introduce changes, I could rant about a few, and certainly we're talking about the Australia Cup. It'd be nice if we go something on the grassroots level rather than worrying about some mid-season NBA style thing. But I digress. Look, just finally here, we'll touch on the AIHL tin. And it's been an interesting few games. I don't just mean over the weekend, in the past few weekends for the Melbourne Ice. After all this discussion about them being unbeatable, we mentioned this last week when you weren't here, but I don't know if shaky is the right word, but it's just been kind of fascinating to watch as we get closer and closer to that 3-day finals series, how the Ice is performing at the moment.
Yeah, it's starting to get interesting, of course. Obviously, well publicized by not just us, but the wider Australian hockey community. You know, the Melbourne Ice getting swept by the Canberra Brave last weekend, which was an incredible performance. But of course, yeah, on the Sunday, I mean, the Ice had to survive a bit of a scare from the Newcastle North Stars there. In the end, they got the job done, but you can't say it wasn't without a bit of work. But yeah, looking at the rest of the table, I think I'll just make note that that it's been a very tight season, ignoring the Ice. I mean, Perth Thunder are on 40, Canberra Brave 37, Newcastle North Stars 36, Brisbane Lightning 33, and Melbourne Mustangs on 31. I mean, the Mustangs were around second and third just a couple of weeks ago. Now they're down right at the bottom of the finals of the finals fixtures. So obviously, the next couple of games are going to be super important, especially with the table so close. We're coming into the final month of the season now, where quite literally every game will matter for every team, and every team is not just looking for finals positioning, but to sort of prove themselves and say, "Hey, we want to perform well come finals." And I mean, when you look at how the Ice have been playing in recent weeks, people will be um, looking at the Ice and saying, "Okay, we can definitely beat the Ice." So it's going to be an interesting last couple of weeks for sure in the AIHL.
Yeah, we'll be covering it very closely. That's Sportswatch for this week. Remember, you can catch up with all the latest episodes, stream them right here on our Not Yet Banned YouTube channel. And of course, you can support for just $4 a month or $10 a month, patreon.com/SIXNewsAU. We'll be back next week with a lot more from the Australia Cup. We'll see you then.